What's up, fellow farm-toverts? Today we're going to be rendering lard. I really like to use lard in my cooking because it's cheaper than butter, so sometimes when I make biscuits I'll do like half butter and half lard. And another thing that I love about it is that the pigs store their vitamin D in their fat. So it's a good source of vitamin D, especially during the winter months. This fat comes from a pig. It's called the leaf fat. It comes from around their kidneys. It is the best to use for pastries and biscuits and that kind of thing because it's pretty odorless and tasteless if you make it right, which I'll show you. And then you won't get that like kind of pork flavor to your pies or biscuits. So the colder it is, the easier it's going to be to cut. And when you're cutting, you're gonna want to do small pieces, kind of evenly sized, and that way when it cooks down, it'll cook down evenly and you won't get those pieces that are overcooked and maybe imparting that pork flavor. If you see any kind of meat left on there, you want to take that off so that it again doesn't have that pork flavor. The trick to getting that perfect white lard is low and slow. So don't turn your stuff up too high. So my very best tip for how to get that pure white lard is to remove the melted fat as soon as you can. That is the best way that I found to make sure you get good rendered lard. I have tried the slow cooker method and it just sort of gives it a burned porky taste because it's just cooking for so long. So I really like this method. It's tried and true and guarantees that you're gonna get good lard. So I've just got my Instant Pot insert and the basket, like the trivet basket, and a cheesecloth. And I'm just gonna strain the liquid out as I go. Maybe this method is a little bit slower, but if I'm going through all the trouble to make it, I wanna know that my lard is usable for pastries and biscuits and stuff, and it's going to be yummy. And I didn't find that to be the case when I did the slow cooker method. It was a little more hands-off, but my stuff kind of burned and it didn't taste good. So that's why I stick to this method. I am going to go ahead and can my lard. I like to just be able to keep it on my shelf and have it on hand for whenever I need it. This would probably be considered rebel canning, so you definitely don't have to do that. You could just pour it in the jars and keep it in the fridge. That would be totally fine. So I'm preheating the oven to 275. And I'm gonna wash my jars in hot soapy water and then throw them in the oven to sterilize. Once this fat keeps cooking down, then you'll get these nice brown bits. Those are called cracklings, and they're really yummy. You can throw them on salad, in soups, on baked potatoes, kind of in place of bacon bits. So don't throw those out, use them up. Once my lard has been completely rendered and I have all the liquid from it, I'm going to heat that back up to 250 degrees, and that way I can put it in my canning jars. But if you were just going to refrigerate it, you could just pour it straight into your jars and stick it in the fridge. Once my rendered lard comes back up to 250, I'm going to pour it in the jars, and I have already sterilized the lids in some hot water and the jars in the oven, and so I pour that in. I'm going to wipe the rims of the jars with a paper towel just to make sure that there's no extra lard on there and I get a good seal. Then I'm going to screw the lids on and turn the jars upside down for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes is up, I'm going to turn it back over, and that'll help seal the lid. And then after a little while, I'll have my nice white pure lard that I can then cook with. So if you go ahead and purchase a half of a share of a cow or a pig, or a whole one, make sure you ask for the fat from the butcher, because sometimes if you don't ask specifically, they'll just throw it out assuming that you don't want it. Or you can check with your local farmers market, because a lot of times the farmers would be thrilled if you asked to purchase the fat from them, and it's usually super reasonably priced, which is another huge bonus. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on the Farm Traverse.